Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a market that's seeing some truly explosive growth. It's one that seems poised to, well, basically reshape how we all connect globally.
Mm-hmm.
Our focus for this deep dive is the 5G small cell market.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to pull back the curtain on the critical data from a pretty comprehensive market research report we've been looking at. We're going to reveal some, frankly, astonishing financial projections.
Astonishing is probably the right word.
But maybe more importantly, we want to unpack what these numbers genuinely mean for the future of connectivity. You know, the kind you rely on every single day.
Exactly. And just so everyone knows, all the insights, all the data we're about to share, it comes directly from this extensive report. So let's kick things off with maybe a global snapshot.
Sounds good.
The report shows that back in 2021, the entire global 5G small cell market was valued at just under $1 billion. Yeah. $970 million, roughly.
Right, just under $1 billion. But what's really striking is the sheer velocity of that growth. I mean, by 2025, it's forecasted to more than triple.
Triple? Wow.
Yeah, reaching over $3.2 billion. But if we project out even further, the really staggering leap, the one that kind of makes you blink, is expected by 2033.
Okay.
Get this. The market is projected to hit an incredible $35 billion by then.
$35 billion.
$35 billion, yeah.
That is a monumental leap. From less than $1 billion just, what, 12 years prior?
Exactly. It translates to a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of nearly 35%, 34.825% to be precise, sustained over that whole period.
Nearly 35% CAGR. That's huge. Now, we hear 5G all the time, but maybe remind us how exactly these small cells fit into the picture. What makes them so crucial for, reshaping connectivity?
Sure. So small cells are essentially compact, low-power cellular radio access nodes. You can think of them as miniature base stations.
Okay, not the big towers then.
Right. Completely different from the towering macro cell sites we're, used to seeing. They're specifically designed for dense areas. You'll see them placed strategically on things like streetlights, building facades, even inside venues like stadiums or malls.
Oh, okay.
And what they do is provide very localized, high-capacity coverage. This is absolutely vital for delivering on 5G's promises, the ultra-fast speeds, the incredibly low latency.
Right.
They basically fill in the gaps left by the macro network, extend reach, and, crucially, boost performance. Right, where people are actually using their devices most heavily. It lets the network handle enormous amounts of data traffic much more efficiently.
That makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about more targeted, almost granular coverage. That explains why they're so central to these huge growth projections we're seeing.
Exactly.
But given their small size and the heavy lifting 5G demands, what are some of the key technical innovations making this possible? Or maybe what are the main hurdles in actually deploying them at this massive scale?
That's a great question. On the innovation side, things like advanced antenna technologies, massive MIMO is a term you might hear, are being miniaturized effectively to fit into these small cells. That lets them serve many users at once, even in a small footprint.
Good.
There's also the increasing use of higher frequency spectrum, like mmWave. It offers huge bandwidth, but the signals don't travel far.
Ah, so perfect for short-range, high-capacity cells.
Exactly. It's a perfect match. But the main challenge, often it's backhaul.
Backhaul.
Yeah, ensuring you have high-capacity connections, usually fiber optic cables or sometimes high-capacity wireless links, to each individual small cell. That's what carries all the data from the cell back to the main network. So it's not just about putting the box on the lamppost. You have to feed it with a fat pipe, so to speak.
Right. You need the plumbing to support it.
Well,
Fascinating. Okay, so we've got the global scale, a sense of the tech. Let's maybe pinpoint some of the hotspots driving this growth. Starting perhaps with North America. The report shows some really vibrant momentum there.
Yeah.
It details North America's sales revenue at around $372 million back in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
That figure is expected to climb pretty steeply to over $1.2 billion by 2025. And then, while it truly soars, projected to hit nearly $12.75 billion by 2033. That's a strong CAGR too, over 34%.
And yeah, within North America, the United States is clearly leading the charge. Its market was around, $293 million in 2021.
Yeah.
projected to rise to nearly $950 million by 2025, and then exceed $9.9 billion, almost $10 billion by 2033.
Wow.
And this growth in the U.S., it's interesting, it's not just driven by consumers wanting faster phones. A big part of it is the push for enterprise 5G solutions.
Like what, for example?
Things like private networks for factories or huge logistics hubs for automation and efficiency, and also fixed wireless access, or FWA, that's using 5G to offer high-speed internet to homes and businesses, especially where laying fiber is difficult or expensive.
Okay, so specific applications really shaping the regional picture. Now, Canada is interesting too. It shows a slightly higher CGR, over 35%. It jumps from nearly $50 million in 2021 to over $1.8 billion by 2033. That's quite a dramatic expansion from a smaller base.
It really is. Shows strong investment there.
And Mexico isn't being left behind either. It's set to grow from around $29 million in 2021 to surpass $1 billion by 2033. So it seems like pretty widespread growth across the entire continent, suggesting maybe a coordinated infrastructure push.
Absolutely. I think policy initiatives, government support, and also significant investment in smart city infrastructure projects across North America are really creating fertile ground for this kind of small cell deployment.
Okay, so let's shift focus. What about Europe? The report suggests strong gains there too.
Very strong gains, yes. The 5G small cell market there was valued at roughly $208 million in 2021.
Yeah.
And it's expected to rise to over $7.075 billion actually by 2033. That's also showing a CGR very similar to North America, over 34%.
And what's compelling here is looking at some of the key countries. The UK, for example, grows from just over $30 million in 2021 to over $1 billion, $1.07 billion by 2033. That's significant.
It is. But Germany really stands out in Europe.
How so?
Well, it has the highest CAGR in the region, predicted at over 35%. It scales from around $44 million in 2021 to nearly $1.6 billion by 2033.
Nearly $1.6 billion for Germany alone. Why do you think they have that slightly accelerated pace compared to their neighbors?
I think Germany's particularly robust growth is significantly influenced by its strong industrial base. There's a big emphasis on Industry 4.0.
The smart manufacturing push.
Exactly. So many German companies, especially in manufacturing and logistics, are really eager to implement private 5G networks right in their factories and warehouses. They see the clear benefits for efficiency for automation. So this enterprise-driven demand, coupled with proactive government investment in digital infrastructure, seems to be giving them a bit of an edge.
That makes a lot of sense. And we also see other major European economies doing well. France growing to over $820 million, Italy to over $710 million by 2033. It shows pretty broad commitment across the continent.
Definitely. And it's not just the big four or five. Spain and Sweden are both projected to surpass $500 million each.
$500 million each, okay.
And even smaller but very advanced markets like Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they're all set for steady, significant expansion too. It really paints a picture of, pervasive adoption across Europe.
It does.
And I think the European Union's broader digital single market strategy plus specific funding initiatives are clearly helping accelerate this uptake. The goal seems to be ensuring consistent, high-quality connectivity right across all the member states.
Right, leveling the playing field digitally. Okay, so speaking of growth engines, the report specifically calls out Asia-Pacific as the global growth engine for 5G small cells.
Yeah, that's the term they use, and the numbers back it up.
It boasts the highest regional CAGR globally, get this, over 36%. The market there is projected to leap from around $189 million in 2021.
Which is already a decent base.
To an extraordinary $7.7 billion by 2033. $7.7 billion. That is a truly monumental jump.
It absolutely is, just massive scale. And China, unsurprisingly perhaps, as the regional leader, is forecast to grow from nearly $58 million in 2021 to over $2.4 billion by 2033.
$2.4 billion in China alone.
But what's really fascinating here, I think, is India. The report highlights India as the fastest growing country in APAC.
Oh, interesting. Faster than China.
In terms of percentage growth rate, yes. A CGR projected at over 37%. It's expected to reach over $1.2 billion by 2033.
Wow. What's driving that incredible surge in India?
It seems to be a combination of factors. Aggressive, government-led digital transformation initiatives, you hear about Digital India a lot. Plus, you have a huge, youthful, very mobile-first population. Many are essentially leapfrogging traditional wired broadband and going straight to mobile, straight to 5G for everything, education, entertainment, business, you name it.
That's a powerful combination, a huge demographic shift meeting new tech. And it's not just China and India, right? The report mentions
Oh,
others.
yeah, definitely. Other major economies in APAC are also seeing dramatic expansion. Japan, South Korea, obviously very advanced tech markets. Australia, Singapore, Taiwan. Taiwan specifically is projected to surpass $320 million by 2033.
Okay.
And then you have the broader regions. Southeast Asia,
Hmm.
as a bloc, is expected to hit over $616 million. And the rest of APAC's category is projected to reach over $900 million. So, like you said earlier about North America, this isn't just about a couple of giants. It's a really profound regional surge across the board.
It really underscores how critical 5G and the infrastructure like small cells that enables it is seen across Asia Pacific for future economic competitiveness and digital inclusion too, I guess.
Absolutely. Countries are making really strategic investments to solidify their positions in the global digital economy. It's a key priority.
Okay, let's round out the globe and look at some emerging titans, as the report calls them. South America, the Middle East, and Africa. How are they stacking up?
They're definitely part of the story, showing very strong growth trajectories as well, albeit from smaller starting points in 2021. South America's 5G small cell market, for instance, is projected to increase from around $67 million in 2021 to nearly $2.5 billion by 2033.
2.5 billion in South America.
Yeah, growing at a AGR of over 35%, so right in line with North America and Europe. Brazil is leading the region there, expected to reach over $830 million by 2033.
Okay, Brazil leading the way.
Any others?
Yes, Argentina, Colombia, Peru, and Chile are all expected to see substantial growth too, with each country either crossing or getting very close to the $500 million mark by 2033.
$500 million each. Impressive. Okay, shifting to the Middle East.
Similar story, strong growth. The market there is forecast to expand from around $51 million in 2021 to nearly $1.9 billion by 2033. Again, a key GR over 35%.
Nearly 2 billion. Key players.
The UAE is expected to surpass $308 million, and Turkey looks set to grow to over $346 million. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Qatar are also noted as playing pivotal roles in that regional growth.
Got it. And finally, Africa.
Africa is also set for really significant growth. Its 5G small cell market is projected to grow from around $83 million in 2021 to over $3 billion by 2033. That's hitting a robust CAGR of over 34.6%.
Over $3 billion for Africa. That's substantial. Is there a standout country there?
What's particularly noteworthy is South Africa. It's expected to exceed $1.1 billion in market size by 2033.
Wow, over $1 billion just in South Africa.
Yeah. And Nigeria and the kind of collective rest of Africa category will also play significant roles in reaching that $3 billion total. What we're seeing in these regions, South America, Middle East, Africa, is a rapid adoption of these advanced wireless technologies. It's partly about bridging existing connectivity gaps, where fixed infrastructure might be lagging.
Right, leapfrogging again, maybe?
To some extent, yes. But it's also about accelerating economic diversification, supporting their growing digital economies, and again, often driven by large young populations who are adopting mobile technology as their primary, sometimes only, way to access the internet.
It's truly a global phenomenon then. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of numbers. Let's try to connect the dots. What does this all mean for you listening, if we synthesize the overall message?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is just the sheer speed and scale. The 5G small cell market is expanding at, frankly, breakneck speed across literally every continent.
Right. We keep coming back to that global revenue projection, poised to hit $35 billion by 2033. It's clear this isn't just some niche technology. It feels like a fundamental shift in how we build and experience connectivity itself.
Indeed. And this presents both, immense opportunities, but also some pretty significant strategic imperatives for everyone involved.
Like who?
Well, governments, urban planners, the private telecom companies, obviously, technology providers. They all need to be thinking about this. They have to prioritize strategic investments. They need to ensure the infrastructure readiness, especially that crucial backhaul we talked about earlier.
Yeah, the plumbing.
Exactly. And they need to develop innovative service models to really capitalize on this huge growth wave. How effectively they do all that will directly determine how this widespread growth of 5G small cells actually impacts the technological landscape and, the future developments you encounter in your daily life.
Things like smart cities, maybe more personalized services.
Exactly. Autonomous vehicles, remote healthcare, immersive entertainment, all the things that rely on that high-capacity, low-latency network fabric that small cells help provide.
It really is an exciting and clearly very rapidly unfolding story. So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with. Considering this explosive growth, this foundational impact, what does it mean for how our cities might be built differently in the future, how businesses might operate, or even just how you listening will experience connectivity in the coming decade?
Yeah, maybe how might this widespread technological shift shape your own decisions or even just your observations as you move through the world of technology and infrastructure? It's definitely something to watch.
A lot to think about.
And just a reminder, all the insights and the specific data points we discussed in this deep dive were directly sourced from that comprehensive market research report.
Absolutely. Well, we hope this deep dive into the 5G small cell market has given you a clearer, maybe more insightful picture of this incredible ongoing transformation. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. We take stacks of articles, research, notes, and basically distill the most important nuggets for you. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that's often, overlooked, but is absolutely critical for 5G. We're talking about the 5G small cell market. And this isn't just about slightly faster internet on your phone. It's actually this huge behind-the-scenes transformation. It's projected to just skyrocket over $35 billion by 2033. So our mission today is really to decode the intel from our sources. We want to give you some real business foresight. We'll look at the powerful forces driving this market, unpack some of the maybe unseen hurdles slowing things down, and highlight the innovations shaping its future. Think of it as peeling back the layers on the invisible infrastructure that's, well, rapidly changing our digital world. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's kick things off with what's really pushing this massive expansion. I mean, it feels like every single year we're using more data, right? More streaming, more apps, everything's connected. What kind of pressure does that put on the sort of traditional big cell towers?
Oh, it's an enormous strain.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. We're seeing this explosion, really, in video streaming, countless mobile apps, plus all these connected IoT devices. It's pushing those traditional macro networks, the big towers, to their absolute limit. The key thing here, the insight, is that small cells act almost like targeted pressure valves.
Okay.
They help relieve that congestion. They ensure you get smooth, high-capacity connectivity, especially in, say, dense urban areas, busy train stations or airports, or even crowded stadiums, places where the big towers just struggle to keep up. And these are compact units, low power, designed specifically to extend network capacity and coverage exactly where it's needed most. They deliver that seamless experience 5G is supposed to promise.
That makes a lot of sense. It's almost like adding, I don't know, extra lanes to a digital highway right where the worst traffic jams always happen.
Precisely.
And, when we talk 5G, everyone hears about mmWave or mmWave. That's the super high frequency stuff. It promises lightning fast speeds, but, well, it also comes with some big challenges, right? Like range and getting through walls.
Exactly. That's its Achilles heel. mmWave offers truly incredible data speeds, potentially gigabit speeds, but it has very limited range and notoriously poor building penetration. Walls, windows, even foliage can block it.
Right.
So that raises the crucial question.
Yeah.
How do you actually get those amazing speeds to users, not just, in a lab?
Yeah.
Small cells are the answer because they deliver highly localized short-range connectivity. They've effectively bypassed those mmWave limitations. They become indispensable in places like dense city streets, what people call urban canyons, university campuses, big shopping malls, airports, environments where those macro towers just can't push that mmWave signal effectively. So really, small cells are the key. They unlock the full potential, the actual promise of mmWave 5G, both outdoors and, importantly, indoors too. It's a shift from thinking about blanket coverage to delivering, let's say, precision performance.
Gotcha. So they're kind of the missing link, getting that super fast connection right to your device, wherever you might be. Now, beyond just individual users and phones, we're hearing a lot about this bigger vision, right? Smart cities are emerging, and businesses are setting up their own private 5G networks. What kind of unique network demands do these localized, ambitious projects create?
Well, these smart infrastructures, whether you're talking intelligent traffic systems managing flow or real-time city surveillance or just widespread public Wi-Fi, they all demand very specific network qualities.
Okay.
Primarily ultra-low latency, meaning almost zero delay, and incredibly high bandwidth for moving lots of data. Small cells are just uniquely suited for this. They allow for highly tailored 5G deployments within specific city zones or dedicated private areas like industrial campuses.
Right.
Imagine a corporate headquarters or a busy shipping port managing logistics or maybe a fully automated factory floor. These compact nodes provide that precise, localized connectivity needed for those specialized applications. They're pretty much essential for turning that vision of a truly smart environment into, well, a functional reality.
Okay, so that paints a really compelling picture of what's driving this market forward. Huge data demand, the need for mmWave, smart cities. But like any fast-growing tech, there are always hurdles, sort of the unseen obstacles. What are some of the trickiest practical problems when you actually try to roll out these small cells?
Yeah, that's the flip side. One of the biggest bottlenecks, honestly, is what the industry calls complex site acquisition and the associated installation hurdles. This isn't just about finding a good spot for the antenna.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about navigating a bureaucratic maze.
Mm-hmm.
To deploy these units, you need access to existing infrastructure. Think streetlights, utility poles, maybe the rooftops of buildings.
Right, yeah.
And each potential location is subject to this complicated web of regulatory approvals, different zoning restrictions depending on the area, and often very lengthy negotiations with local municipalities or property owners.
Yeah.
These administrative barriers, this red tape, can dramatically delay deployment timelines. And they significantly inflate the costs, especially in dense urban areas where good spots are limited, and getting permission is, frankly, tough.
Hmm.
So what as here is really that companies who figure out how to streamline this whole process, they're going to have a massive advantage.
It really sounds like it's less about the tech sometimes and more about just cutting through that mountain of paperwork and permissions.
A lot of the time, yes.
And then beyond just getting permission, there's always the cost of the underlying infrastructure itself. You mentioned they need connections. What about those unseen demands once a small cell is actually, mounted on a pole?
You've hit on another critical point.
Mm.
Each small cell isn't just a standalone plug-and-play device.
Mm.
It needs reliable backhaul.
Backhaul, right.
Yeah, think of backhaul as the digital highway connecting that small cell back to the main core network. Usually, that means running fiber optic cables or sometimes using high-capacity microwave links if fiber isn't feasible.
Now, establishing that robust connection can be prohibitively expensive or just technically very challenging, especially in areas that maybe don't have great existing infrastructure or, say, rural areas. And the demands don't stop there. Each unit also needs a consistent power supply, which might not be readily available. It needs adequate cooling, especially in hot climates, and robust protective housing to withstand weather and vandalism.
Yeah.
All of these things add up. They contribute to ongoing maintenance costs, which can definitely be a drag on the overall business case, particularly if you're deploying in remote or developing regions.
So it's really not just the little box itself, but everything needed to connect it, power it, and keep it running.
Exactly. It's the whole ecosystem around it.
Okay, and one last challenge area.
Mhm.
When you're adding this new, smaller text, the small cells, into an already complex existing system of big macro towers,
Yeah.
how do you make sure everything plays nicely together? What are the complexities around, say, interference or coordinating with those larger networks? That's a crucial operational challenge. Integrating small cells smoothly into existing cellular networks, it demands meticulous radio frequency planning, RF planning.
Okay, RF planning.
Yeah, that's basically the art and science of mapping out how all these wireless signals will travel and interact, making sure they don't clash, and ensuring the service stays seamless for the user. You absolutely need to prevent signal overlap where it causes problems and guarantee smooth handoffs between different cells from a macro tower to a small cell or between small cells as users move around.
Right, so your call doesn't drop or your data doesn't stall.
Precisely. And in what we call heterogeneous networks, or HETnets, these are networks where you have different types of cells, big macro towers working alongside tiny small cells, managing all that potential interference and maintaining optimal performance across the board. It requires advanced tools, real-time optimization software, and frankly, very sophisticated engineering expertise. This layer of technical complexity definitely adds another challenge and can slow down the speed of deployment if not managed well.
It's clear there are some significant hurdles to clear site acquisition, costs, network coordination. But like we said at the start, the market's still projected to explode. So that tells me innovators must be finding solutions. What are some of the promising trends you're seeing that are shaping the future, maybe addressing some of these challenges?
Yes, absolutely. We're seeing some really significant advancements, particularly in intelligent network orchestration and more sophisticated RF planning tools.
Okay.
These innovations are designed specifically to tackle those interference issues we just talked about. They aim to harmonize the performance between the small cells and the macro cells automatically, making deployments much more efficient and less resource intensive than they used to be. This is really a game changer for scaling up networks quickly.
That sounds like vital technological progress. But what about those physical deployment hurdles, the site acquisition red tape we discussed? Are there like collaborative efforts emerging to try and ease that difficult process?
Absolutely. Public-private partnerships are proving to be immensely effective here, actually. These collaborations are actively working to streamline access to infrastructure. For instance, making shared street furniture, things like lampposts, traffic lights, utility poles, readily available for small cell attachments through pre-agreed frameworks. They're also working collaboratively to ease some of the local regulatory burdens, maybe standardizing processes across a city or region. This approach makes it significantly easier, faster, and cheaper to deploy small cells. It's essentially greasing the wheels for the infrastructure rollout.
Okay, that makes sense, working together to smooth out the process. And finally, there's this next trend. It feels like it takes the vision even further. How are small cells contributing to really cutting-edge applications? Things like autonomous vehicles or virtual reality, are they becoming part of broader next-gen tech?
They're absolutely essential for that next wave. The integration of small cells into what's called edge computing ecosystems is a major frontier right now.
Edge computing,
Right.
bringing the processing closer.
Exactly. It involves bringing compute resources, the actual processing power, physically closer to the end users and devices, often co-locating it with the small cells themselves. The result is ultra-low latency and near real-time responsiveness. And that is critical, absolutely non-negotiable for the next generation of applications. Think about autonomous vehicles communicating with each other and the infrastructure every millisecond counts there. Or truly immersive augmented reality and virtual reality experiences that need instant feedback. Or mission-critical industrial automation on a factory floor.
Wow.
Small cells located at the edge don't just provide the connectivity pipe, they become part of the distributed computing fabric that enables entirely new possibilities for innovation.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up our deep dive today, it seems really clear the 5G small cell market is on this incredible transformative path.
Mhm.
It's being pushed hard by our, let's face it, ever-increasing hunger for data, the fundamental need to make mmWave actually work in the real world, and this ambitious growth of smart cities and private networks.
That sums it up well. And while, yes, there are definite complexities in deployment, significant cost barriers to overcome, and that constant technical challenge of network coordination, the industry is strategically tackling these issues through ongoing innovation in network management and these important collaborative partnerships for deployment. Understanding these dynamics, these pushes and pulls, really offers you valuable foresight into what's happening in this incredibly fast-moving tech landscape.
So as you, our listener, consider all of this, maybe think about this. These compact, localized networks, they aren't just about speeding up your phone downloads. They could fundamentally start to redraw the map of our cities. Think about how traffic might flow differently, how emergency services respond, even how your smart home devices talk to the wider world. It's kind of quiet revolution happening right there on the lamppost outside your door. Keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.